My mom told me years later, after I had been kicked out of the house, that she had a memory of me walking down Highway 41 in Ackworth, Georgia, in the rain, on the side of the road. And she was on her way to work, and she said she saw me, and she just kept going. I'm like, how could you not have stopped? I had a lot of expectation on me to be this perfect little preacher's kid that sat in the front pew at church and supported her father and sang in between sermons, dressed perfectly. I remember having crushes on some of my friends that I went to church with when I was very, very little, and remembered looking at them in a way that I knew was different, but I didn't quite understand it. The older I got, the more I felt strongly about that, and also scared of it, because I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it was wrong, according to my parents anyway, and the Bible. I remember being 7 years old and begging my parents to take me to get saved, which I, for whatever reason, hadn't been saved yet. And I remember just begging and pleading for it because I was afraid I would die and go to hell. And now as an adult, I realize just how incredibly dysfunctional and abusive that is, to lay that sort of fear and angst on a child that is still developing. Their brain is still developing. They don't know who they are yet. They're trying to figure it out. And I can't imagine doing that to another person, especially my own child. I started to push back on all of that pretty early on. I had sort of a troubled childhood because I did start asking questions and I wasn't living the life that my parents wanted me to. And my dad started having an affair on my mother. And for the last 2 years of their marriage, they divorced when I was 14. And so, of course, that created all sorts of questions in my head of Christianity and religion and what's acceptable and what isn't acceptable. And I started to act out in negative ways because I was pushing boundaries. My mom kicked me out of the house when I was 15. She finally had hit her limit and it imploded. She packed my clothes in a pillowcase with a letter and kicked me out of the house. My life became survival. I dropped out of school. I was just trying to live. So I finally got things together, finally found stable living and a job, and was on a good path. But still there was this shadow that was constantly hovering over me. Some days I would stare in the mirror at myself and cry because I felt like something was wrong with me and I wanted it to go away and everything will be easier. When in fact that wasn't the truth at all. You know, it was hard because I was hiding behind myself. I had allowed religion to implant itself into my being and cause me to judge who I was and the way I walked through this world. I didn't fully embrace being gay until I was in my 30s. I had started bringing girls around for family gatherings, and my mom confronts me afterwards and says, "We need to talk." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "People are asking me questions about this girl that you keep bringing around, and I don't have the answer." My mother's response to me when I answered her questions were that I had robbed a mother of every dream she could have of her daughter, that I was an abomination, that I was going to burn in hell, and she more or less compared my relationship to smoking cigarettes, in the sense that she didn't care who smoked cigarettes or what they did outside of her home, but that they were not going to bring it into her home. The reason I came out to my father was because I had to. It was my life depended on it, of me finally no longer hiding. I told him about my relationship that I am currently in and that we have a child that we're raising. And his response to me was that he would always love me no matter what, but that I was sinning and that my father was very sad that we would not meet each other in the afterlife. And then he asked me, didn't I think Addison, our child, deserved a mother and a father? Deep down, I thought there was a chance that he would be able to separate himself from his religion, and he didn't. The fact that my father was unfaithful to my mother and then in turn is judging me for my sexuality was a mindfuck. I mean, the hypocrisy in that is unreal to me. They were deep into religion to the point where, I don't know if you remember the Satanic Panic in the 80s, and all of a sudden, everyone's freaking out about Satan. And I remember as a child, I had unicorns all over my room, pictures, everything. And I just remember one day my mom came home from work and she took everything down unicorn related and it was thrown away. My mom had been convinced that unicorns were satanic. They were demonic, whatever, you know. And I remember I'm flipping through the Bible verse that speaks about unicorns, how God brought forth the strength of a unicorn. And I remember just highlighting that verse and being like, look, you know, if it's in the Bible, how is it a bad thing? And no one would ever answer me. And then fast forward to a few years ago, and somehow the subject of unicorns came up. And my dad goes, they were magnificent beasts, weren't they? And I was like, wait. Okay, now I'm really confused. You know, like, do you think they're holy? Are they evil? Were they real? I don't, it makes no sense to me. You and I could read a sentence from the Bible and have completely different experiences with it. And that, you know, that's why Christianity is so messy, is because people pick and choose what best suits the life they want to live. What makes them feel the best about what they're doing. These are the same people that are marching through life claiming pro-life, but the second their child turns out different from what they expect them to be, they abandon them. That is not pro-life, that is cruelty. It's maddening that this is happening in this world. My father was very clear to me that Addison, our child, was welcome in his home anytime, but that my partner was not. And I finally had to confront my father and basically set a boundary with him that my relationship was a package deal, that my family comes first, and that I was not willing to teach my child that this behavior is okay. My father has cancer. He has prostate cancer and he has kidney cancer. This is my father's second bout with kidney cancer and his only remaining one. And I think for me, knowing that, excuse me, knowing that my father has cancer and this is the way that he's consciously choosing to live the rest of his life out is the ultimate rejection. And I don't think that it's something you ever recover from. Because the life that I have to offer him and the love and the family I have to share with him is priceless. And he is choosing to turn his back on it in the name of religion. And this is his time that he could fix it all. and make everything better, and he's not. And I do believe that my father and my family and parent, mother, will all pay the price in some way at some point. They'll answer to their God, if there is one. They'll answer for this. And I just don't think that my parents had the capacity to love unconditionally and selflessly. And I don't believe that has anything to do with me, even though it hurts me like it does. I think that me being able to accept that the flaws of my parents are not my doing has allowed me to no longer let it eat me from the inside out. It's allowed me to release a lot of myself that no longer served me in a positive way. That's not my shit to carry. That's theirs. And in a way, that's been empowering. I mean, there's sadness around it, but it's also very empowering to have that realization. But then what do you do with it? You know, you don't have your parents.